Ha ha! What have we here?
Well, The Jungle Book was my first Disney film. The very first one, so of course that leaves a huge impression on you.
Andres Deja and I have always had this rivalry to see who's the biggest Jungle Book fan, and we're still trying to settle that one. You know, it may come down to a cage match or something.
It did inspire me to become an animator. If you like to draw, the way I see it, there's no higher accomplishment than to go into animation and make those drawings come alive.
By the age of 11, in fact, it was on Jungle Book, something clicked in me and I realized that this was somebody's job. And their job was not only to do these drawings, but to give these characters individuality.
How interesting.
That made becoming an adult suddenly sound much more attractive because there was, you know, there were cool things to be done.
Today's animators grew up, you know, with that picture. We're influenced by the warmth of the personalities.
You know something? You're all right, kid.
And I think it's resonated with a whole generation of current animators and has influenced their work.
For anybody who has gone into personality animation, to see the relationship between Mowgli and Baloo, and to see the acting of those two characters, it's truly inspirational.
You want to know something? We're good sparring partners.
You'd better believe it.
And if you were to see that when you were a young person, I think you would be hooked for good.
I've always thought of Jungle Book as really the entry into Disney animation for me personally.
I have the biggest collection of rough animation drawings from the Jungle Book. I think I do. I was about 11 years old and I had little pocket money. So me and a school friend went into the next town and saw the Jungle Book, and my life changed.
The first time I saw Jungle Book, it was in an open theater in the summertime. Halfway through the movie, it starts pouring. And I wouldn't move, I wouldn't budge. I actually sat through the whole movie and I was soaking wet through the end of it. It was just sheer amazement.
I went to see it probably half a dozen times. I tried to make flip books of it. You know, basically I was completely smitten.
It was a huge hit, and this was as big in Europe as it was in the States.
You better believe it.
I first saw Jungle Book when I was about 11, growing up in England. It came out as a re-release. It was quite a revelation, I think, at that time for me.
I couldn't believe that people could learn to draw to such point that they could make things like this believable.
The Jungle Book's really an animator's movie. I think that's why so many animators gravitate to it, because it really boasts possibly the best character animation the studio ever did. When King Louie is dancing around, you know, the weight you get on his body really feels like an orangutan's body. And yet he's caricatured and he's still his own personality. I was just amazed at the type of life they could get in the characters. They were just bursting with it.
Yeah. Well, man, what a beat.
The thing that really attracted me was just the magic trick of being able to imbue what were obviously drawings, like real sort of weight and muscles, but only defined in like a few lines. And it was just such a like, how do you do that? How do you make just like a single line that's describing the back of a panther, describe everything about that panther?
Stop! Wait a minute. Halt!
I just remember being absolutely delighted by John Lounsbury's animation of these elephants, Colonel Hathi, and just he's marching along, and it's just like, wow, such weight and power and strength to these characters.
And remember, an elephant never forgets. I don't know what the army's coming to these days.
When I got to the studio, I met John Lounsbury. He had these great, thick pencils that he was drawing with that I ended up buying all the rest that there were of that pencil, and that became the pencil for me to animate my characters.
John Lounsbury is a particularly important influence for me because when I was assigned to do Tantor the Elephant in Tarzan, you couldn't help but thinking immediately, well, how am I gonna do a better job or even just close of being that good as they did on Jungle Book?
Discipline! Discipline was the thing. Builds character, all that sort of thing, you know.
Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston worked very close together, you know, for their whole careers.
Frank and Ollie animated about 50% of the movie.
Hey, kid, you need help. And old Baloo's gonna learn you to fight like a bear.
The animation on Baloo is probably Frank Thomas's finest.
I checked out of the archives the drawings of Ollie Johnston's of the little girl at the end, and there was this simple elegance to his drawing that I went back and looked at again when I was designing Ariel and the Little Mermaid. I don't know. It's the high watermark of design and character really blended well together. I don't know that we've ever done better than that.
It's influenced me in every character I've ever done. I mean, just the level of understanding of how to portray a character, how to make it appealing.
Yeah. It's beautiful, ain't it?
Then there was Milt Kahl's incredible design.
Milt, you know, primarily did everything on Shere Khan, all that phenomenal stuff with Kaa.
Shere Khan. What a surprise.
Yes, isn't it?
I remember doing the scene of Scar walking around Simba. I remember going and getting as many of those Shere Khan walks from the research library and flipping through them and trying to figure it out. And I animated Rafiki mainly in The Lion King. I had original roughs of Milt Kahl's of King Louis right there on my board.
Crazy.
Anyone that worked on Lion King obviously went to Jungle Book and go, well, this is how good it can be.
There's a scene where Mowgli is walking along, hopping down from one branch to the next, and there was such a natural ease the way this boy moved. And I remember for Aladdin, I had to do a scene where Aladdin is walking up the steps and trying to get that in the Aladdin animation.
And Mowgli is just so beautifully drawn, and he moves like a real kid. That probably influenced me when I did Lilo and Lilo and Stitch. I wanted to be really truthful to the anatomy and the drawing of a real girl.
Jungle Book animation really kind of became the standard in any animation I do. Always try to make it fun. You know, I did the parrot character in Aladdin, and I tried to make him kind of shaggy and falling apart, kind of like the vultures. Whenever they scratch themselves, their feathers are flying off.
I think the most direct influence I've gotten from the movie is appreciating its technique. I've studied lots of it frame for frame, just to see how they got certain things.
There's nothing spontaneous about the medium of animation. Animation is, by its very nature, is a slow, kind of thoughtful medium where you analyze something and then you perfect things. But Jungle Book feels kind of spontaneous. There's a looseness to the performances and a lightness to them. And that is something that I've tried to have in my work.
Can't help by being completely drawn to the work that these guys did. It's really about giving characters soul, and that's what Jungle Book did so well. That was so inspiring.
I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you.